Hey friends! I hope that you are having a wonderful day today. My name is Luciano and I make videos on the internet. I usually don't show my face in my videos, but I am trying to vary up the presentation and style of my videos. And while I often make videos about jump chains and choose your own adventures, today's video is going to be about another topic, one that I find quite interesting as well. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about communication, argumentation, and specifically fallacies. Let's go ahead and get started. What you can see right here is the very beginning of the Wikipedia page for fallacies. This is one of the simplest and most handy introductions to fallacies that I can find online that talks about the different reasonings behind fallacies as well as shares what a logical versus what a formal versus informal fallacy is. It's altogether just incredibly handy. I am still a little bit annoyed that I can't quite link things over on my YouTube account in the wake of the recent changes to YouTube, but I am working on getting that back. Hopefully I'll be able to get it back soon, but this is just what Wikipedia says, and as is often the case, this is handy for getting a nice surface level introduction to the topic. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at some specific fallacies and talking about them. We are now on the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, a very handy peer-reviewed resource which has dozens, if not hundreds, of articles on a staggering range of topics in philosophy, logic, and debating and communication, and is just a really good website for anyone who's interested in learning about this topic. We are on the webpage for their fallacies. We're going to go ahead and start to scroll down, and as I scroll down, feel free to pause if you see anything that stands out as especially interesting to you. We are not going to scroll the whole page because, as you've already seen, this is a long page, but we're also not in a rush. We're just taking some time, enjoying this moment together, and I'm hoping that you are learning from what we are talking about. We are now on the section for the ad hominems, and an ad hominem is a type of fallacy wherein you make an irrelevant attack on the person arguing and suggest that this attack undermines their arguments. It is very important to note that insults by themselves are not ad hominems. There is an annoying tendency in spaces occupied by armchair philosophers and hobby debaters that suggests that any insult is an ad hominem, and the word itself is essentially synonymous with insult in those spaces as well as in other spaces. But any regular attack on someone that is not part of a line of argumentation is not an ad hominem. If you are having a debate with someone and you in exasperation state that this person is an asshole, that's not an ad hominem attack. But I promise you, in a lot of amateur debate spaces, there will be people who hear you say this and they'll be like, oh yes, here come the ad hominems. The example in this particular section, this example right here, is not only an example of an ad hominem, but it's also an example of a specific type of ad hominem known as poisoning the well. When you poison the well, you are essentially saying something that may or may not be, but is oftentimes actually true about someone in an effort to distract from or detract from the argument that they are making. This example is talking about someone who is young, who is having a discussion about a specific topic, and then saying that they are young in an effort to get you to focus on the fact that they are young and not actually focus on the arguments themselves. This is a pretty common example of it. Just a really handy way of measuring what is and what isn't an ad hominem. And one of the next little bits here talks about the fact that there are multiple different types of ad hominems, not just one. And I really like this section because not a lot of people realize that there are many different types of ad hominems, and some fallacies that people are cognizant of are more accurately conceptualized as falling under a broad ad hominem umbrella rather than being understood as wholly separate and distinctive fallacies in and of themselves. And also, some fallacies are just synonymous with each other, and this is a good way of showing that there are fallacies that are similar and that are related. We are now going to go ahead and take a look at another fallacy. For the final fallacy that we are going to be covering today, I wanted us to talk about the appeal to authority. Appeal to authority is very interesting because this is an example of a fallacy where many people love to try and talk about this fallacy and invoke it when it is not really proper to do so. The most often instances of the appeal to authority that I have seen is when people are talking about evolution and creationists love to say, oh, you as someone who supports evolution are simply appealing to authority because you believe what many other people believe whenever someone who supports evolution will talk about research and talk about the fact that the research right now indicates that evolution is the most likely reason for life's diversity. I would use more precise, more aggressive wording than that, but I don't want to talk about that in this particular video, maybe in a future video. But when appealing to authority is not actually a sensible line of argumentation is when you appeal to an authority who is not actually an authority in a particular subject. This is something that I have seen creationists do because I have seen creationists try to appeal to scientists who are not biologists and say that because those scientists who are not biologists don't understand evolution and they don't believe in evolution, that means that evolution cannot be true. That means that they have reasonable cause to disbelieve in evolution just because someone who is a geologist does not understand the complexity of evolution and misspeaks about it. Or someone who is a physicist tries to talk about something like abiogenesis. So if you are appealing to an authority in the sense that you are appealing to someone who knows more about you, who knows more about a topic in general than you do, and calling them an authority when they are not actually an authority in the subject, that would be an appeal to authority that is fallacious in its reasoning. That is something that is very important to understand because many people rely on authorities for a lot of the knowledge that we have. Understanding and being able to trust that there are people who know more than you and understanding where they know more than you is something that is very important. I do think that one of the more important fallacies that we should be teaching children about is the appeal to authority. Because if we understand why it is fallacious to go from, there are people who are smarter than me, this person knows more than me in an area that is adjacent to a topic, therefore they are an authority on the topic that they are adjacent to, not that they are actually specialized in, is wrong. We will give people much better tools with which to combat misinformation. I think that understanding the appeal to authority is very important. I really hope that seeing this presented in this particular way is very helpful. It's also worth noting that I only talked about one form of the appeal to authority as a fallacy. This actual highlighted bit talks about more ways that the appeal to authority can be wrong, and understanding them is just as important. Sure, you could be appealing to an authority who is actually an expert, but you could be misquoting them. Or you could be appealing to an authority who is actually an expert but does not have the most up-to-date information and is therefore wrong. And just because they are an authority does not retroactively mean that the things that they say will always be correct. Understanding this fallacy does take time, and it is not the easiest fallacy for people to wrap their minds around, even though I think that many of us can logically intuit the basic principles that are being highlighted in the section that I'm talking about. Just wanted to go ahead and show my face for a little bit as I end out the video. I've really enjoyed this recent slate of videos. I am excited to have more meaningful conversations with you all, and I cannot wait to hear what you all have to think about the fallacies that we've discussed today. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to hear from you in the hours to come. Bye-bye, everyone!